Yeah, is everybody okay? Yeah? Yep, okay, good. Yeah, I've started the recording. And I might pass over to Alison to...
Thanks, Dave. So, hi everyone, I'm Alison Warne. I'm part of the same team as Dave. We're both assessment designers, so with the product support development team. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. And John, you're the next on my screen.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name's John Argall. I am a Learning Bank officer based at Bankstown, and we will be doing all of the preparation of the resources and records for your products that you're developing for the Learning Bank.
And Kylie, as you're in the Skype session, I might get you to introduce yourself as well.
Yes, hi, it's Kylie Tarleton. I'm a lead learning designer in TAFE Digital, and Vicky's asked me to come along today.
Great. Okay, well, over the Tamworth, I'll let you guys do the introductions.
We'll start with Kat.
Yum everyone. Kat Trindle, Product Manager, Aboriginal Languages.
Hi, I'm Honor, Support Officer. Hi, Holly Bobang, Product Manager.
Hi, Sharon Barley, Product Development Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Jo Medlin, Industry Relationship Lead. I'm Kirsten, Product Manager.
Danny Earnshaw, Product Development Coordinator, Foundation Skills.
Great. Well, thank you all for giving us your time. I'll just start off, but then I'll pass over to my colleagues. As I mentioned, the intention of this is really a high level look at the release of the assessment templates. Just as heads up, we're calling them version 3. The previous assessment templates that you've probably been using were called the compliance templates, and they were version 2 basically. So we're talking now about today the release of the next set of templates that Alice, myself, and the team have been working on. So I'll just I actually might hand over to Alison. Let Alison, if you don't mind, kick off that.
No worries. Thanks, Dave. So this just gives us a quick snapshot of what we'll go over in the presentation. Certainly either ask the questions throughout or at the end, whatever you prefer, whatever you're more comfortable with. But we'll have a look at where we find the templates, and Dave will walk us through the 2 spaces that they're situated. And then in reference to saving and storing assessments, John will talk us through a little bit of that and just give us a little bit of background with the Learning Bank. We'll also touch on the file names, the standard file names that we're applying to documents now, and then just a few hints on what to be aware of as we've worked through it. Thanks, Dave. So the 2 types of templates that we're going to be talking about are the static template documents, and so they're sitting in the Learning Bank, and they don't have any sort of pre-population in them. And I know with this team the pre-population's a little bit unique because you're doing accredited courses, but Dave will talk to you a little more about that. But we do have those static Word ones if that's all you're able to use, or we also have the data docs, which have the data pre-filled from TGA. So just to let you know where we're up to.
Sorry, Alison, it's Kylie.
I think Kylie
Yeah.
the same thing. There's a lot of background noise where you are.
Yep, okay, hang on 1 sec and I'll see if I can minimise it.
Sorry,
You're right, just a sec.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Alison's in an open office, and it can become loud.
Sorry, is that better?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, much better. Wonderful.
Yeah, sorry. Everyone's using their inside voices for us now, which is better. Okay, so just to start that again, there's the 2 different types of templates. There's the static Word document template that'll be in the Learning Bank, and then the pre-populated, what Dave's calling their data docs, that will pull the data from TGA, but Dave will go through that a little more as we go through. And just to let you know, on the right-hand side, there is that entire list of templates that we have been working on. And Lucia, our other assessment designer, is madly working to try and have those all available by close of business today. But if not today, then certainly over the next couple of days. And I think most of the team would be familiar with the concept that we're putting supporting documents with each template, and that just gives you hints and tips on what to include in the templates as you go along with the development of them. Dave, did you want to go over to the next one?
Yep, thank you, Alison. Yeah, so the two platforms, I'll use that term, the templates will be available on the Learning Bank, and John will give us more details on the Learning Bank when we get to that part of the presentation. And something called Data. Now I know, I think you guys might be familiar with Data. It was actually a New England piece of work, body of work. So they're the two platforms. I'll just really quickly just have a look at them. You would be aware of the Learning Bank looks like this. You guys would have seen this, no doubt. And so if you go to the Learning Bank, down here there's a search skills point for approved training products link. If you click on that, the services are unavailable, of course. But normally, if that wasn't the case, and I don't know why that's happened, it was available literally 5 minutes ago. Anyway, I'll go back to the other screen. You'll come to.
Dave, are you in Chrome or Explorer? Because you need to open Equella in Chrome, don't you?
Yeah, I'm in Chrome. I'm in a Chrome browser. Yeah. But for some reason, I don't know what's happened right then. I was literally in there 5 minutes ago. But anyway, I'll give it one more try.
This has been happening today with a couple of other people that work with us, where they weren't able to get on, and then suddenly would get on. So
which just happened.
Yeah.
as we speak. So anyway, so when you go to the down the bottom of the screen there, I'll just try it again. It probably won't work again for me. I shouldn't have done that. But anyway, no, it's not going to work, of course. Okay. I'll just talk to it. I think rather than waste time on it. When you go to the link down the bottom, you'll need to select the TAFE New South Wales templates. It's in the drop down. And as Alison mentioned, by the close of business today, we're waiting on a couple of dependencies out of our control, and some of those things are technical. The assessment templates that were showed in the previous slide will be available from the Learning Bank. What's the difference between the Learning Bank documents and the data documents? The Learning Bank documents are Word documents that you need to manually populate with TGA data. So they'll be templates, so they'll be blank, and you'll need to copy and paste from TGA all the information from TGA related to the unit code, the name of the unit, all the performance criteria, essential elements, etc., etc. So they are a manual process of you start with a template and you manually copy and paste the information out of TGA into the document. The data documents are quite different. So data is available, and again we'll share this slide with you after this session, but the data doc is a different scenario. That Word document I spoke of that's in the Learning Bank, if you go to data, will be populated automatically in the background. So that as you then download your Word documents, that they're populated with the information out of TGA in the Word document. That's as you can imagine, really quite important when you start doing mapping documents and other documents. Also, that same technology is used, for example, with the master TASs. So it saves you a lot of time to copy and paste all that information rather than do it manually. Data docs do that automatically. I'll just show you a really brief example of that because I'm aware of the time. We will have further instruction about how to use all these tools, but basically I'll just do this really quickly because Joe asked me to. I'll just put in a really quick example. I put in some information. I'll just this really quickly, so I won't explain too much what I'm doing. But I basically put in the information that I need for what I want, and magically then down at the bottom of the data appear any documents relevant to those parameters. Now you can change those parameters, but basically I can see now that there's a training and assessment strategy document there, and for example an assessment mapping document. I'll just open one of those documents. So this is the primary difference between the Learning Bank documents and the data documents. When I open that document now, sorry, it'll probably take a few seconds to open. Here it comes. But what you'll note is that within the Word document, this information is all pre-populated. I don't have to copy and paste that out of TGA. So for that unit, all the information around the performance criteria, essential elements, foundation skills, all that information will be automatically populated into that document for you. So you can imagine that saves a whole bunch of time. I'll just go back to the slide. So that's the primary. Again, we're happy to take questions after this, but that's the difference between the two platforms. Again, the Learning Bank is the Word documents that you manually put that information into. The data docs will automate that process for you. I'll stop talking now and hand over to John, and John can talk us on from that. I've got my documents and what happens then. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Dave. Yep, so once you have completed all of those documents plus any of the other resources that you are creating for the unit of competency that you're working on, the information needs to go through the quality assure and approve process. That's the final part of the process that each of those units of competency need to go through before they are sent to the Learning Bank. The procedures and all of the documents referring to those processes are available in the Project 83 SharePoint space. You should be familiar with it. It's the same location that has all of the development templates currently available, and I think it's folder 2 which has those templates, and the metadata form that you need to complete and send to us with the location and names of the resources you want added to the record is also in that location. We're currently up to version 4 of that document, and the first 3 fields that need to be completed are the acknowledgement that you have received approval for your resources to be sent to the Learning Bank as part of that QA and approve process. The naming conventions, everything else is in the guideline for training product naming conventions. That document has recently been updated and approved. It has all of the abbreviations and naming conventions that are required for all versions of documents, whether it be teaching and learning or for assessment. And it's very much the process that you've probably been following up to date. So nothing much has changed, but it's probably a good document to refer to again because there have been a few changes to some of those abbreviations and naming conventions. I think that's, and if you do have any questions or are sending us the unit metadata form, if you could use the learningbank@tafeNSW.edu email address. And please check regularly for the current version of that unit metadata form, because we recommend that you download a new version each time you're planning to submit resources so that you are using the most current version. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'll just talk to a few things to be aware of, and then we'll be able to hopefully answer any questions you might have. The data web service, so the automated process of populating the Word documents. The things to be aware of there is that the data that's extracted from TGA and put into those documents, at times there can be instances where the TGA data has some issues, has some technical issues. It's rare, but it happens. So what we've found is that there's a particular issue that can happen with the foundation skills. So sometimes the foundation skills won't come cleanly into the Word document. So all we're recommending is that whenever you use data to download data docs, there's beside each document you'll notice there's a TGA link. So we just recommend that you go quickly to TGA and just have a look to make sure that the data transfer from TGA into the Word documents has been accurate. We've had a few instances, two from memory, in the testing we've done where that's been the case out of many tests, but we have found that this has happened a couple of times. So what we're recommending is that if you do find an issue, can you please, as I said, we'll share this slide with you, but log any issues you have basically with our ticketing system. That link will take you to the right ticket, and you can just put in whatever, for example, what the unit was, etc. That type of information that will be fed back to the development team, who will, as an ongoing process, be looking at fixing any bugs we find with the TGA data system. It's not actually with our system; it's with the TGA database. The last one, which I might hand over to Alison, if you don't mind, just to talk about the versions of templates. There's some questions being raised about which version do I use, and I'll hand over to Alison to explain the version comment.
Thanks, Dave. So as Dave said, we're calling these version 3. The version 2 that we're hoping that everyone is familiar with are the current templates that sit on the compliance page of TAFE New South Wales intranet. So they're currently the ones that everybody would be using up until the point that we release these. And the points that we need to make there is that version 3 is intended for all Project 83 assessment development projects, and if you do currently have some that are in version 2, we have had some skills points that just have had to develop just because of critical timeframes, and they are in the version 2. So if you're 3/4 of the way through that, for example, just stay with a version 2 because obviously it's you don't want to have to convert them all over. So that point there, hence don't change horses mid-development. There are some compliance issues if you were to mix version 2 and version 3 because we have merged some documents in version 3. So just the heads up around that. So we're needing to use the naming conventions as John had talked about previously. And just a point there, we had some questions around other skills points around the availability of the version 3 templates out into the regions, and that behind the scenes that's being organised. Joe Fuller has been engaging with heads of skills teams and delivery and implementation teams to see how we're going to roll that out to them, but that will be available to them from the middle of September. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Alison. So okay, over to you guys now. So we've tried to fly through it as quick as we can, so there was time for you guys to ask any questions you might have about the rollout of the assessment templates.
I don't know that we've got any questions for you. Just letting you guys know though that we have our courses aren't all on TGA. Our courses are on Equella, so that data gatherer program may not. We do have a couple of courses that are on TGA which we'll use it for. The only thing is whether or not, depending on where the data is being taken from out of TGA's data, we eventually will be having the names and the units listed, but not all the information as we sell those products. Whether or not we can draw from that, I don't know if that's a possibility moving forward.
Yes, it certainly is. Yeah, no, we were aware you guys are accredited courses and won't necessarily be using, potentially. You will be using some, no doubt, but not a lot. But I'm sure we can look at from a technical perspective, we just need some information to be on TGA, and there's possibility then to be able to auto-populate that information into Word documents. So that can be an ongoing conversation for sure.
Yeah, so I guess, Dave, just to give a little bit more of context to that, the accredited courses are owned by TAFE New South Wales, and the information or that stuff that we're drawing out of TGA for national courses actually sits as those documents within Equella. So I guess down the track, the future for this team, would we be able to merge data from Equella into these documents, or is that a well down the track kind of plan?
That's just come on my radar literally right now. It's certainly technically possible, but I'll take that on notice now, and I'll follow it up and get back to you guys about that.
So does that help? Well, sorry, was it Sharon that asked that question? Does that help you a little bit with that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That'd be great. That's something you're going to look at further down the track because, yeah, obviously being able to populate some of that information into the tags and things like that certainly saves a lot of time. And with the unit names and the course names, that'll be able to populate the assessments and things like that as much as anybody else's are. So that would be good.
Sharon, can I just ask, you're using the Equella meta schema, the metadata schema, to put in the unit numbers and names and those types of things? Or is it purely just Word documents, or are you using a methodology around the metadata, the meta schema? If that makes sense what I said, did I talk to blah blah?
Yeah, what I'm doing is with going into the data gatherer, I just go in and pull up the FS, or whatever the accredited course is. And so some of the information comes over into the assessments. I think there might have been something came over, but the tags, it just kept go into an error, so I'm not sure if there was just a problem that day, but they only use some of the information. I'll double check it though and see whether or not more's coming out, but when I looked, when we got the link about the e-tags, I hadn't looked then, so there could be something else in there since that.
Okay. I will follow up. So data gatherer, now you've raised that, not all skill points are using data gatherer. The data gatherer will have more work done, so I'm thinking we can align this conversation with the update of data gatherer. You guys are probably aware that you need to change the path, the URL of data gatherer to have the current template. So are you aware of that? Because you guys are using data gatherer, aren't you?
No, we're not using it.
Oh, okay.
What do we have to change? Sorry, I'm not aware of anything. I just went to the new link.
Yeah, no,
which has got the green header, and just
right.
went in the very top selection says accredited courses, and I've got in.
Yep. So that's correct. Sorry. So align back to your question about Equella, if we can potentially migrate some of that data. I'll align that with the data gatherer work. So I've been showing you today. I know I'm sort of speaking in tongues here, but the data I've showed you today is called is the data web service.
Okay.
And I'm talking about something else, sorry, so I won't go deeply into that other thing today.
Yeah, no, that's okay, and that's the one that I was testing for the degree.
Yep, you're using the correct one there, Sharon, that's great. The other, maybe your support officer might be using the old
data gatherer.
The old data gatherer?
No.
Okay.
We've only got 3 training package quals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everything else in our skills points is an accredited course.
Accredited courses.
We haven't started yet with those of you.
No, but yeah, we were trying to use it. I don't know, a while ago, because we've got a project that's underway that's got to be put on scope because it's new courses.
Yep.
So we've been working using the version 2. So we're one of the naughty people that are using those. And yeah, so that's when I was trying to use it. So it probably wasn't up and running properly then. So I'll definitely have another look today.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have any more questions, anyone? Did you want to double check?
I've just got one question, just to double check. In that list of assessment templates, are you adding a portfolio assessment?
There should be portfolio in there. Dave, do you
I think there is. I'm just going back here. I believe there is, but we'll just double check that. I think it was the last round actually, but I'll just get back there. A case study.
Well, a case study is not a portfolio.
No, it isn't. And I don't see the words portfolio there anywhere I can see. I'm just looking through it again, sorry.
Yeah, we'll double check for you because I'm sure Dave and I did the review on that. So Lucia's leading this. She's pulling all the information together, and I'm sure we did review one. Dave.
We did review one, yeah.
Whether it's contained in one of the other ones, but we'll certainly double check for you and let you know as soon as possible what template contains the portfolio.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I might just stop the recording.